In this episode, Scott and I talk about the importance of taking responsibility for your change and becoming someone you can be proud of. Scott Samak is a filmmaker who has a wide range of amazing projects under his belt. His latest project is called Earthbound. It's a docuseries about environmental change makers and how their work is impacting our future. This conversation is for anyone who is going through a major transition in life, be it your career, family, or personal. What you'll learn is how Scott becoming a father shifted his drive and his motivation, the impact of identity crisis on family relationships and dynamics, and learning how separating your anger from your actions is the key to creating a meaningful life. Well, first off, brother, thank you for hanging with me. Yeah, so I'm super excited about this. I have a couple, as we were talking a little bit, leading up to this is just a conversation that we just happen to be recording. I don't do the whole official thing. We'll do the intros and all that stuff later. This is just you and I chatting. Yeah. But there's a few reasons why I'm very excited to connect because, although we've had, really only a handful of, one-on-one conversations in the past, every single time I've been left inspired and curious and intrigued by, everything from the work that you're doing to your perspectives to, your evolution that you've described to me. And now knowing, that you've gone through a major one recently, which I'll be excited to hear a little bit more about shortly.
Papa.
Yeah. The big one.
I know. This is so in case you got to get through it, this is dad juice. It's just straight espresso, 4 shots.
Fair.
It's the key to fatherhood.
I love it. Just dad juice and therapy. That'll get you through.
Dad juice and therapy is all you need in life.
That's awesome. You should literally market the strongest coffee you could possibly come up with as dad juice, and just
yeah,
you'll never have to worry about money again.
This will be audio proof of that copyright.
Yeah, that's right. You have an official track record here.
Yeah, there it is.
That's amazing. Well, on that note, I would love to know, as you know, title in this podcast, and really the name of my business that I just launched is More Than a Business. And the reason behind that is, I truly believe that our businesses, no matter what the craft may be, but our businesses are really the greatest vehicle, I believe, that exists to, transform the narrative of our lives, right? To transform, where we come from to what we can create, to transform, who we believed ourselves to be versus who we can become, right? And the reason why I say our businesses are the greatest vehicle, and this is with respect to not being a father myself yet, but the one thing that I do know for sure, though, is that your business, unlike anything else, is 100% always an unapologetic reflection of self, right? Because your business will never outgrow the person leading it, right? And unlike children, your business really, unlike children where they're kind of a blank slate, right? And we can project ourselves onto them in many different ways. As much as they're individual, they're very impressionable. Whereas the business, markets, customers, clients, circumstances, it doesn't give a damn what we're struggling with or what our thoughts are or beliefs. It's either going to 100%. Connect or it's not. And if it's not, that's a challenge for us as anyone who is running their own show to face whatever it is that, is blocking it. And I find that the majority of that is always going to come back to self, right? Some limiting belief, some strategy, etc. That's often what's in the way. So that's kind of a longer version than I anticipated sharing about why, I've titled this More Than a Business, because for me, it's exactly that. Your business is actually more than just, earning money, but really it's about the personal transformation necessary to be able to create something that not only you, but your family can depend on. Right? And more importantly, I believe it's about creating or aligning with a mission, right? A mission-driven approach to business versus just a success driven or profit driven approach. And I'm not here to poo poo on one or the other, but I definitely lean hard on one side of that coin, which is the mission side. And that's something that I think, we quickly realized that you and I have in common. And with that, I would love to know, you alluded to it earlier. You're a brand new father. And I know that's pretty recent. So first off, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
You got the...
Yeah, it's awesome. It's fucking awesome. Sorry. First of all, pause real quick. Am I allowed to curse on your podcast?
Go fucking nuts.
Okay, I'm an East Coaster through and through in that sense.
So yeah, let it shine.
It's just, it's a word that just fits in between words. I have other words.
Yeah, instead of it's fuck. It's fine.
Yeah, it's always fun. It's always fun. Yeah. This kid is, we can't judge him at all for his first word becoming fuck or motherfuck or something like that. Because Carly and I both, man, that just comes out.
You'll just be proud parents.
What it is. Just is what it is. You can use it in the house. You can use it around us. Don't, who knows?
Just use it correctly.
Yeah, just use it correctly. Yeah, exactly.
I love it.
So,
but
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'd be super curious, and I'm asking, for like selfishly, because like I said, I haven't become a father myself yet, and that's something that Alice and I I think we're beginning to wrap our heads and our hearts around the reality that we do desire that at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
We'll be older parents. I'm 39 now, and she's 34. But the question I would be really curious to hear your thoughts to is, how have things changed for you as far as like your drive, your intention, your motivation, since becoming a father? Right? Or I guess like, what was it knowing you were going to be a father to maybe what has shifted since, he's been brought into the world?
Right. That's on our hearts and minds constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that we think a lot about. We don't quite have the answers for it. And I'm saying we, because we are both parents and we parent the same child.
Mm-hmm.
So, but me as an individual, it's like, I can go on and on about this because like, it's been such a interesting experience becoming a father during a time where work has been our main driving, specifically, for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I've attached myself to work so much it became a problem. And I didn't really grieve certain things. I can explain my use of grief in that way in a second, but like I didn't really realize how attached to work I really was and still am, and it's been trouble. And I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent, but
go nuts.
I'll get to your answer then. But during the time where our industry has also gone through a strike and that work again being taken away, and I say again as in reference to the pandemic as well. So it's been two huge hitting things in a row, and then becoming a parent over the top of that. So it's been actually pretty damn different.
Trifecta.
Yeah, it's been pretty hard, but it allows us to self-reflect, and it allows us to look at the things that are more valuable. And I can't tell me how many times I've broken down crying, just like coming to the realization of what's important in the moment. Like there's times like I remember our big hurricane that we had in July that we were supposed to have here in LA. It was like, and a kid was touching rain for the first time, and I was like, and I was just beating myself up at the time, and seeing him in the rain. Oh God, dude, that is like the most valuable moments when you can just put everything else aside and you just are so in the moment with your child.
Yeah.
And it is the coolest thing. And I'm honestly, I'm going to go on I'm going to keep going on a tangent.
Don't stop. This is the gold.
I can go into greater detail for sure, but just to be like on the briefer end of it, it's like I went back to grief, right? I wasn't before becoming a dad, I wish somebody would have told me about grieving our past life. And I thought I had it handled.
Yeah.
And it was similar to when, man, I'm gonna hit you with all the heavy shit.
Come with it.
It was like similar to when I lost my mom,
Mm-hmm.
like when my mom passed away, where I was like, oh yeah, I got this. Like, of course I got it,
Mm-hmm.
So losing more work, becoming a father, being afraid of not being able to take care of a kid, taking care of our bills, all that kind of stuff, right? Not working, not going out, traveling is a big part of my happiness, and being on sets and whatnot, and that kind of felt like it was being taken away, and I struggled pretty damn hard. And I think if somebody would have given me the advice to sit with a lot of that beforehand, just being like in gratitude, not being like, oh shit, life is gonna be different, I'm gonna be a dad and everything's lost. It's like, no, there's so much that is gonna be gained in your life. If somebody just told me that, you're gonna gain a lot in this moment, and just sit in gratitude of the things that you did have so far up until this point that kind of built that foundation for you to become a father, and just sit in gratitude of that, I would have saved myself months of beating myself up. So it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Becoming a father is one of the coolest things ever.
So there's a few things here that I want to take as far as we can. One, I absolutely love what you're sharing, but I'm super curious. So when you say becoming a father, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that beyond just the physical reality that you and your wife have created a child, right? But when you say becoming a father, what does a father mean to you?
That's a great question. And the reason I'm laughing is because I don't know if I have an answer for that fully yet.
Yeah, just throw stuff at the wall.
Because Carly and I, but Carly and I reflect on this, and we discuss this. It's like how did this happen? It's like almost like you don't realize that you're a parent, but you're doing all the things to be a parent, but especially in the infancy stage, it's like you don't really get a lot of opportunity to reflect on those things. But now that he's 6 months old, we're starting to what does this mean? What kind of parents are we? X, Y, and Z, because we're no longer in the trenches of it. In the first couple months, which it can be pretty rough. But
I hear you get a lot of sleep during that time.
Yeah, it's great. Best sleep I've ever had.
Don't believe the hype. Is that what you're saying? Dad juice.
Brought to you by Dad Juice. Yeah, no, I discovered espresso during this time, so that says it all. But yeah, becoming a father. We might have to think about this for a second. I think because there's the selflessness, but I would say it is frightening. It is frightening. I thought I wouldn't be that afraid of it, and being okay with that for sure. Thinking about the years ahead and thinking, schooling, and are we going to do daycare, or what's the world going to be like? Jesus, even you ask yourself that question, oh my God, what a tailspin you put yourself into. You're like, what is it going to be like in 10 years? So I would say, okay, so that actually, I think, brought me to my answer here. It was just fatherhood is being, and it's going to sound, it's so cheesy and cliche, but it is being present with your child and taking it day to day. And I think if you take it day to day, you'll learn a lot about yourself. You'll learn a lot about your child. And at the end of the day, that's all they really care about is the day to day. So if you can meet them where they are, I think, and again, I'm a new father. I don't have the answers to these things, but I'm kind of discovering this as we're talking about it. It's just like meeting him where he is, I think, will allow me to be the best father that I can be.
I love this.
I saw a thing, Ryan Holiday said something about, it was on Daily Dad or something like that, when he was just saying, it's like, if you're, and I didn't read anything beyond the sentence, but then it made me think about it. It's like, if your child reaches their hand out to you, like, don't deny it. Like,
Mm.
you know, grab it, grab his hand, hold his hand. And, you know, again, I don't know what where he was going with that, because I didn't read further than that, because I do read all the stuff, but like in that moment I wasn't. But I think that allows me, that metaphor, or at least the imagery of that, allows me to recognize how important it is to just be present with him. So yeah, I've been sitting outside with him almost every day now, because he loves watching the cars go by.
Yeah.
And we've been sitting out in the driveway and just like watching every car go by, and it's been the most relaxing thing. And I hate cars, and I hate traffic, and I hate the sirens, I hate all this stuff, and I tell Carly this all the time, just like, I just want to move, I want to get away from all this stuff. But like, my son enjoys it, so I'm out there with him, and he eats it up, man. He just kicks his leg and wiggles and has a great time watching things go by. It's like, it's great.
It's so amazing, you know, to be able to see something through the eyes of someone that's seeing it for the first time. I think that's such an important moment, and I think it's one that could easily be missed, or you can find yourself distracted. You know, and obviously with a child, I have to imagine they're so frequent, because so many things are for the first time, right? And you know what I'm remembering, the moment that sticks out for me in this is Allison and I traveled to Italy 2 years ago, and it was you know, I've been very fortunate in my travels, you know, when I was in my 20s and whatnot, and this happened to be the first time that Allison was going to Italy, and it's something that was on her bucket list. So being able to do that with her was really special. But I'll never forget there was 2 moments that I saw that are forever ingrained in my mind, and the first one is when the plane touched down, right? And she knew she was in Italy, right? That moment, right? And then the second time it was like walking through the airport and like seeing her like eyes wide, right? And then the second moment that I'll never forget was, you know, we'd made it to the hotel or the Airbnb, whatever it was we were staying at. And, you know, we got ready, we had a dinner reservation, and, you know, so she's getting all dressed up and looks amazing. And then when we walk out to, you know, the street, and we're walking distance from where this restaurant is, and watching her explore, you know, the streets of Florence in her dress for the very first time, and like taking it all in. Like, I'll never forget. I was fortunate enough to get a little video of that moment, like watching her turn around for the very first time, and I was recording it. She didn't know. It was just awesome. But to see things through someone else's eyes, I think, is probably one of the greatest opportunities to experience joy that we so often, I think, either miss or don't recognize.
Yeah, no, 1000%. Yeah, through our partners, through children, through friends, through family, through all that stuff, seeing them, you know, it's interesting how we kind of have to what would be the right word? Not dislocate. Jesus.
It can work. We don't have...
Yeah, I guess we'll say disengage. I don't know. Disengage from our own experience, because, like, you know, in those moments where you can take yourself out of it, and I don't know if it's a direct reference, but it's like, you know, we watch television, we watch movies, and we try to get things, and it's always from another person's perspective. And it's like, why are we so attracted to that? You're seeing somebody else's perspective.
I wish more people were attracted to other people's perspectives.
I know, and that's a huge...
it's not about agreeing with them, but allowing yourself to be open and curious about them.
Yeah. Let me, before going on, first of all, I just would acknowledge that, like, that's cool that you had that experience with her, and that you were able to have that moment where things slow down, things are moving in real time, but things slowed down very nicely for you. That even though you have the recording, you're still going to remember it.
Yeah.
The recording's nice. You know, it is nice. It's like, you know, anything but Ziggy. Like, we were always going around taking photos and all that stuff, but it's like, you know, the rain moment, it's like, I wasn't recording that. There was no well, Carly technically snuck one, but that is far more potent. And, you know, I do. I do wish more people would take jump out of their fears or whatever their reasons will be, like why they don't want to jump into another person's perspective. They're protecting themselves, their vision, their identity, their ideas, their philosophies, whatever it may be, comforts mostly. They're all excuses. They're just all excuses.
Yeah, 100%. And unfortunately, most of it's subconscious. They're not even aware.
Yeah, 100%. I know, for example, some people in my life, and I just to protect their identities, just, some people in my life, they're so fearful of leaving the same zip code, or, and they have legitimate reasons for sure. Like, some things you can't get around, like health and et cetera. Like that's a legitimate concern. But, certain those people also said the same things, like, don't change me, like, don't give me your perspective, don't I don't want to think differently, literally words, I don't want to think differently, this is who I am. And that sucks, man. Like that sucks. Like that just, it's heartbreaking. Like, and I understand it and I gotta respect it at the end of the day, but that's sad.
I think you just said something really important there, right? Which is, it's clearly not something you subscribe to, right? But you followed that with, I understand and I respect it. Right? That 100%. Those two things, I think, are what is missing in so many of these conversations that so quickly turn to conflict, right? That are just unnecessary, right? Rarely are we ever, and I mean this literally, rarely are we ever arguing about what is right or wrong, right? In a very black and white sense. If you listen to arguments with your spouse, with your friends, fucking politicians or whomever, right? Often, majority of the time, however you want to quantify it, the argument is not about right versus wrong. It's about your way versus my way.
100%.
Right? Yep. And if people were to allow themselves to see that it's not about being right, but rather become more interested and curious about how to get it right, and what it right means is really whatever is the, what is the option, what is the strategy, what is the circumstance that will have the greatest benefit to the whole, not just the individual. And that most likely will require all of us to, give something, give up something, have to, maybe it's something we genuinely care about, but just like any successful team ever, it requires all of them to give up something of themselves, something they may care about deeply even, in order for the entire thing to work and us accomplish a greater goal, a greater mission. And, I think the thing that is the greater mission, in my opinion, is really, it's about fulfillment. It's about, identifying something that, gives our life a deeper sense of meaning, right? Versus this, it was unconscious for me, and it's obviously so many things still are. But I would say versus this need to feel significant by ways of status or being right or whatever, that might be. I think if we were to pursue more opportunities of fulfillment and meaning, and inspiration is another word that I love. Like, instead of looking for happiness, I'm a huge proponent of looking for what inspires us. Right. And this is, a lot of this stems from understanding just the biology of how we process experiences and how that creates emotions and etc. But I think if more people saw inspiration, right, the level of fulfillment and joy they would find in their lives, both in the present and in hindsight, would, it would be significant. I believe it has been for me.
So what do you think, from your perspective, like what blocks inspiration? Because I think a lot of people, especially us in the creative field, like sometimes we'll have those creative blocks or whatever. I'm not just talking about like specific things, but just like there are moments for myself, I feel it's like a desert. Like I don't feel inspired by anything for short periods of time. Of course, like sometimes whatever, but like. So it's a two-part thing. One, what do you think gets in the way? And two, how does social media relate to that? Because I think a lot of times we see our lives and other people.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to shut down social media at least 3 times a year for like 2 to 3 week spans, because I feel like all my inspiration is coming from other people's lives, and I feel sadder. I feel worse about myself. I feel X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
Have at it.
I love this question, and you know, what came up initially when you asked, "What do I think gets in the way?" I believe so. The very first word that came to me was fear, right? But to go even deeper than that, I think it's the fear of uncertainty, and I think you already touched on it. Inspiration will change you. Right? You can't be inspired and closed-minded at the same time. Right? It won't work. So I think what often scares people, and I see this all the time, being very fortunate to work in to have chosen a craft, or to have been chosen by a craft in some ways, to help people through transformations. More specifically, identity transformations, which I'll get to in a second, because we've been hitting that a few times, I think, unintentionally. But I think that's the biggest thing, is people are they're afraid of the uncertainty, right? Because without fail, when I talk to someone, now I ask myself this question quite a bit, when I'm getting ready to do something that is requires some courage, it requires me putting myself out there, committing to something, saying no, like very clearly saying no to something else. These moments are very terrifying, or can be. And one of the biggest questions I ask someone when they're talking about their vision or their goal or whatever it is that exists in their future, that they're kind of drawn to, it's not about potential, but the very first question I'll ask is, what are you afraid you'll have to disrupt in order to achieve that?
It's a huge question,
right? Like, for example, you were saying earlier about becoming a father. You said travel is one of the greatest source of happiness, right? I forget exactly how you phrased it, but something along those lines.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. Whatever,
right. And in becoming a father, especially in the very beginning, as I'm learning and understanding through your experience, you don't have that opportunity isn't as available to you, we'll call it, right? In order to do it would probably require a lot more effort, a lot more resource, a lot more whatever than you've become accustomed to doing it on your own. So, it's, when you think about it, it's like, well, what's one of the big fears about becoming a father? Well, it could be you'd have to disrupt that relationship to travel as it currently stands. Right. But
right.
And what I firmly believe is that, you were talking about grieving earlier, and grieving past experiences. I think this is one of the most important conversations people can begin having. And I hope that this inspires people to consider this in their own lives. When you look at your life, a lot of what people, they're doing one of two things, right? They're trying to either they become so hyper focused on trying to keep things the way they've always been, right? They're working their ass off to not change anything, all while things are changing 24/7, right? Despite their control and their desire. Or you find that some people become so driven and inspired by the uncertainty of the blank canvas ahead of them, right? And their ability to influence what could be, who they could become. And I say influence, not control, right? Very, very intentionally. Because I believe that what we all desire is to have greater influence, right, in our lives. But in order to do that, you must take responsibility, right, for the influence that you naturally possess. And for me, a big part of it was, I realized in my transformation to go from the identity transformation specifically, and when I talk about fatherhood, that's an identity transformation, right, that you're talking about. And there's a quote in the movie Lions for Lambs, if you've ever seen this.
No, what's that?
Oh, I think you would be very interested in Lions for Lambs. It's.
I also side note, I get in trouble a lot for this stuff. It's like, oh, you're in the film world, you should be. Did you freeze up?
Oh no, I'm here.
Oh, okay. yeah, I get in trouble for this a lot. Like, oh man, yeah, this movie. I'm like, I haven't seen that movie. Or it's like an actor and actress. The other day I didn't know somebody,
Well,
and I just got shit
well,
on. So
let me go ahead and
I don't know
even
if
the
it's the
playing
same.
field. I have never
Yeah.
in my entire life seen a single second, and I do mean this literally, of Star Wars, of
Okay.
any of them,
Yeah.
of any of the fucking Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter's or any of the, and it's not that I shit on them. Like,
Okay.
I've never seen a single
Yeah.
second of them, but I could tell you every single line of Bad Boys because I think it's the greatest cinematic thing ever
Fantastic.
created. Mostly because it taught me how to curse when I was young.
Yeah. Here.
So it'll forever hold
Here.
a place in my heart.
Oh my God! Here, make a mental note of what we were talking about for a
Yeah.
second, because I just have to go down this road for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, my version of that is Sound of Music. I've never seen it. I know the deer, female deer,
Mm-hmm.
like jingle. I'm gonna call it a jingle, and everybody just shuddered. That love Sound of Music. I hate you for saying it's a jingle. But no, I do that a lot, and Bad Boys. I'm so happy you said Bad Boys, because most people are not going to say that. And you like it, and you don't care if it's Lord of the Rings or if it's, let's go down to a deeper road, Scorsese, and all these people.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I can talk about this all day. Like, there's brilliant movies like Terrence Malick, Scorsese.
Yeah.
There's all these masterpieces, right? My favorite movie is a movie called About Time, and it is with Rachel McAdams, and it is a rom-com, and it is amazing.
I love it.
It is. Have you seen it?
I have not, but I love this for
Please
you.
Go watch it. Please go watch it. Oh God, man, it ruined me. It ruined me when I saw it. But most people won't. They'll be, oh, you gotta like Shawshank Redemption. I was like, yeah, that was my favorite for forever, and
Yeah.
I have reasons for that. But like, those are great. There's reasons why these people are masters in their craft and like whatever. But like, what makes you feel the best is all that matters.
Oh, 100%.
And just enjoy it. Like, oh God, I love that movie, man. You got to watch it. I'm excited for you. You got to text me. You got to text me when you watch it.
I'm sure.
If you like it. It's cheesy. It's about time travel, and it has Rachel McAdams and Domhnall Gleeson and Bill. I can't say his last name. I should know, but Bill Nighy. Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
But dude, the father-son relationship angle in that is just wonderful.
Massive point right there. And by the way, I don't think I'm going to have any trouble selling Allison on watching a rom-com. So that's probably got a very high likelihood of.
Oh my God, you guys got to see it. You're gonna cry. You're gonna cry.
Oh, dude, I cry. By the way, I cry watching so many things. Like if we watch America's Got Talent. Like if someone hits the gold buzzer, it's fucking tears, guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay. So you and Allison need to take a selfie when you watch this movie, and it's like. I don't want. Okay, now I'm doing the thing I hate too, though. I hate when people hype something and then it's like it goes all the way up here, and then they're like, "Hey, yeah, it was fun."
But why can't it be all the way up there for you, even if it's not for them?
It is all the way up. It is all the way up there for me, and it's like God, again, go just to reflect. Go back to the original thought if you can.
Mine. I'm taking notes. We're good.
Okay. I just don't want to disrupt you.
No.
But. It when I get amped about stuff, I have to keep going, and the espresso's kicking. So yeah. I mean, I love my course that I've taken with films and music, and I was such a snob, and I was like, I only like this thing, and I only how many accolades does this thing have? So therefore, I like it, that kind of shit, and like people just sit in circles and they just shit on something, and. God, I had a conversation with my buddy Andrew Garrity. Shout out to him, I guess. But
we'll tag him in the notes.
And we're all around all these like snobbish like conversations about like films and stuff. And he's like, favorite movie. He talks with this cadence. So, favorite movie. He's like, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. It's a great movie. It's a great movie. And it shocked people. We're like, oh my God, like really, like that shit. He's like, yeah, it makes me feel good. It's funny. Like. Right.
But isn't that what it is? Right?
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going to say it again, like, don't ever come off the 10, because it's something you love. I let like, how many people have told me like I'm a fucking idiot or whatever, because Bad Boys is my favorite movie. They're like, oh, I'm like, I don't give a shit. This is my favorite movie of all time. There's not a damn thing you can do to change it. I'll watch it right now. But I think it's going back to even the identity piece, but before I do that, the reason why I brought up Lions for Lambs, right? We were talking about identity
Yes, there we
transformation.
go. Lance
Yep.
for Lance. Boom. Yes,
So
sir.
it's a Robert Redford movie. The cast is stunning. But it's him and I think it's Andrew Garfield. And I'm not a movie person at all, but this movie
Great
really
cast.
sticks
Yeah.
out to me. Tom Cruise, Meryl Streep, Derek Luke. It's fucking
Oh God.
Michael
Yeah.
Pena. Like it's this just for the fucking. It's like watching an all-star game if you're a sports person. Right? It's
100%.
but Robert Redford plays it's multiple perspectives of the war in Iraq at the time. It's very like present moment, and it's an older movie now, but it was the war in Iraq that it was building around, and it was multiple different perspectives. Right, so Meryl Streep is a journalist. Tom Cruise is a general or politician, like was valedictorian at West Point, like the very like ivory tower intellectual type, but never saw combat. Then you have Robert Redford, who is a college professor, who is a veteran of, I believe, the Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken. If so, forgive me.
Okay.
And Derek Luke, Michael Pena play characters that go to fight the war because of the mission they believe in, and it stems from they're in Robert Redford's class, and it's a project that he presented to the class, and it inspired them to actually go enlist. And then this moment that I'm referring to, the reason why I brought this up is this conversation that Robert Redford is having with Andrew Garfield's character. And Andrew Garfield plays this like, my words would be almost like this pompous, very high level educated, like freshman or sophomore in his class that's like challenging everything that Robert Redford's talking about, right? But he's challenging it from this position of like a young kid that doesn't really, he has the knowledge, but he doesn't have the understanding, right? And Robert Redford is sitting there with the wise man. He's like, I'm going to tell you exactly what it's like because I've been there, right? And so Robert Redford says this quote, and I might mess it up a little bit, but that's okay. And he's talking to Andrew Garfield, and he says, the interesting thing about becoming an adult is by the time you realize you are one, you've already made 3 decisions as one.
Oh, I love that.
And if you think about the message, right, it's like by the time you realize you're well within this identity, right? Like you were saying, you and Guy with being 6 months in now as parents. And now you're beginning to reflect back on the fact that you're parents. Like it's actually a thing that you are now, right? And you're realizing it's like, what kind of parents are we, etc. It's what you're saying. It's like, by the time you realize you are a parent, you've already put 6 months in as one. Mm-hmm. Right. And this is so true for so many, right? I believe this is the source of like the quarter life and the midlife crisis that we often talk about, these moments in people's lives, these seasons. And what I think those are, if we go a little bit deeper under the hood, I think what they are is an identity crisis. And more importantly, I think what it is, it's you enter this phase of crisis, not because you're broken, not because you're wrong or whatever, but when you, like, I believe it's when the former identity's shelf life has come to pass, but you haven't yet evolved into the next level of whatever stage of life you're in, right? If you think about this with empty nesters, you hear it all the time. Like when the kids leave the house, the parents can go through an identity crisis, right? Because the reality is they may still be operating from I'm the mother, I'm the father, but they haven't quite accepted the fact that their children are now grown adults living their own lives, right? So if the parent is still I'm the parent, do as I say, and the child is like, fuck that shit, I'm living my own life, right? Love you, but no. That emptiness, that midlife crisis phase, right, can be very disruptive. They are very disruptive. And I just think really what we're talking about, anytime we're talking about transformation, this is why goals and resolutions, it's the beginning of the year right now for anyone that's listening. Resolutions are a hot topic naturally in the beginning of every year. Mm-hmm. And if you think about what a resolution really is, it's a goal, right? It's just some milestone someone wants to achieve, some arbitrary checkpoint they want to reach, whatever it is. But if you think about what goals or resolutions are, they're external motivations, right? They're external things. right? And the problem, and correct me if you've had different experiences, right? But what I see is one of two things happen, right? In most cases, either A, the person doesn't reach the goal, right? And they feel like a failure. They feel like they've, whatever that narrative might be for them, right? But they don't reach the goal that they've set, or they reach the goal, but are unable to sustain whatever it is, right? Be it a level of success financially, be it, a fitness, a diet, I mean, any number of things, right? And what I believe is happening, it's less about the person's abilities, it has a lot more to do with their identities, right? And it stems.
I can see that connection.
And I'll say this last thing and turn it over because I'm curious to know what you're thinking. So really, this aha moment came for me when I was listening to a TED talk. It was a gentleman named Peter Sage, and he does a lot of work with psychology and sociology and neurobiology and this kind of stuff. And he teaches a lot of personal development for entrepreneurs. So he's in my lane, and he's given this TED talk. And he says this thing that stopped me dead in my tracks. I'm literally in the kitchen cooking, and just trying to wizen myself, if you will. And he says, human beings or people, I forget how he phrased it, but people will never outperform the opinion they have of themselves.
Right.
1000%. And if you think about it, that's exactly what you were referring to earlier when you said there's people that right, that are committed to not changing their thoughts, their ways of thinking, because they don't want to change, because this is who I am, right? People will never outperform the opinion they have of themselves. So how this relates to goals and resolutions is, even if someone achieves that thing that they've set as a goal, if that exists outside of the identity they hold true for themselves, right? If I believe I'm an angry person, being kind when I'm upset is probably not going to be sustainable for me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Or if I believe that I'm not smart enough to launch my business, then even launching the business, even if I see success, if I believe I'm not smart enough, that's not going to be sustainable. I'm going to eventually, shut things down, pull it back, because it doesn't, if it's living outside of my identity, right? And I think you see this a lot with parents, right? When people become parents, if they have not yet stepped into or started to ask themselves, what does becoming a father mean to me? What does becoming a wife, or I'm sorry, a mother? But I was thinking it also is true for relationships, going from, the identity of someone who's dating a girlfriend, a boyfriend, to the identity of a husband and a wife. You could be in the same person, same relationship. Those are very different identities.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I think a lot of the struggles that people have in their relationships and in their family dynamics is you have an old identity trying to hold the responsibilities of the new reality.
Are you a coach who has been struggling to do everything yourself? I mean, all of the content, the emails, the marketing, not to mention every time you open your phone, there's a new social media strategy that someone is pitching that just makes you feel like you'll never be able to keep up. When all you really care about is helping people in a meaningful way while building the kind of coaching business your family can depend on. I'm Matthew Pates, the founder of Momentum, a growth agency that specializes in helping coaches just like you break through your first 100K. If you're a coach who is tired of trying to figure it all out themselves and you just want to build a business that works, then I'm going to encourage you to click the link in our show notes to take your 100K coaching assessment to find out if you're ready to unlock your six-figure potential today.
Yeah, 100%. And that's definitely stuff that I think is imprinted in our subconscious, and just things that we've created over time or other things have created and made an influence on that. And that's the hardest thing, right? Is to try to release the subconscious in some kind of way and make room for new things, new ideas, new whatever. You said a lot of really impactful things I'm gonna have to think about this afterward, about how my identity is getting in the way in certain things. Because even though I can identify that in other people, it's like, how is that happening with me currently right now? That's something I'm going to reflect on actually after. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Absolutely.
That thought.
Well, let me encourage you with this while you're on that note. So instead of the identity of where you are, I would encourage you, at least at this stage, to brainstorm, right? Because that's what it is at first, but brainstorm freely without judgment, right? Which is the hard part for any of us, or, when we do these types of exercises. But brainstorm on what the identity of a father whom you would be proud of. Mm-hmm. What's that identity? Yeah. What are those characteristics? Right? And I've been doing this work for a while. Like, becoming a father has been a big part of my transformation. And what I mean is, it's because stemming from my childhood abuse and all these kind of things, like the two roles I was most afraid of in my life were becoming a husband and a father. Right. For those that don't know, the sexual abuse from, starting at the age of 5 to 11 with a male was my story. And then my relationship to my father has not been one that, I would want to have with my child. And I don't say that to talk shit or paint my father in a bad light. I think he's a phenomenal man that, the only difference between he and I, quite frankly, is whether it was circumstantial, whether it was generational, whatever it was. I think the only difference between his struggles and mine, because they were very similar, was he avoided work and confronting them head on, whereas I leaned into them, right, by way of circumstance, because I was making decisions that nearly ended my life. So I had no choice if I wanted to move forward. So that's the only difference between he and I. But I say this because in my world, my two biggest fears were becoming a husband and a father, because those are two identities, two roles that for the longest time, subconsciously, I had decided I would not be able to survive. And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean literally, because I had made a commitment to myself that I would not become the version of the experiences I had as a child. And I told myself, this came out in one of my psychedelic journeys, therapy, not casual, was that I had committed to, if I had ever done anything, said anything, felt the energy of something that I believed would be inappropriate in the presence of a child, then I would see to it that I wouldn't survive to see the following day, as a sacrifice to never becoming the monster that I experienced.
Yeah.
Right. And the other was, seeing the way that my father and other men in my life treated their wives and their families, and the disappointments and the shame that they carried, which came out as aggression. I also committed to, like, if I ever became that man, that's something I didn't know that I would survive. Right. So those two roles were my biggest fears. Right. Self-preservation says don't become either of those things. So what would happen? How do you think that showed up in my relationship? It wasn't a lot of rom-coms and cuddling.
No time travel.
Yeah. It was more like drugs and anger. But
that's more. I think that's more grounded in reality. I think, considering I haven't had your experience, so I can't speak for you, but I think it is more grounded in reality for most people to come out in that way, and to be able to, again, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's just like to see those things and forgive it, or have some sort of processing that's gonna benefit, I think, yourself. A lot of times that comes out destructive. I've seen that in my life too, and people that harbor it and they don't face that, or I'm not that kind of, I don't have those thoughts. I don't have those feelings. I don't have, I can't tell you how many people recently too, just, and not to go on another tangent. But just like having, this is going to go to a different area, but just having suicidal ideations or feelings, or having, I experienced that with my own mom, to a degree. This isn't actually, sorry, that's kind of aside, but it's just more so like having those things and be like, oh, that's not me. Why am I having those thoughts. That's not who I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that kind of stuff, and it keeps getting pushed. And then it comes out in destructive ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think personally, being able to own some of those ideas and feelings, especially with myself, like I've never been suicidal,
Mm-hmm.
but I've had thoughts of my own life expectancy,
Yeah,
and like,
for sure.
what would it be like if I wasn't here? And that's scary to face. You know what I mean? That's very scary to face. And you know, then you have your own identity,
Mm-hmm.
you have your own idea of yourself, and I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, to associate with it. But, you know, I think the healthiest thing you can do in those moments is seek therapy or seek your own inspirations in that to and owning some of that. And it's like I had to do that for myself too with those ideas of just being like, okay, like this is happening,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be okay with it, because for me to survive this, I have to be okay with this.
Yeah. And to be okay with it doesn't mean that it's comfortable or that you support it. Like being okay is not the same thing as, you know, I'm just going to let it take over.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Very different.
Yeah. Very true. I'm trying to connect back to what you were saying. So, I mean, sometimes when I have a thing, I just say that, but yeah.
No, you're good. Well, what I want to come back to is, you know, again, what I think we're talking about, you mentioned earlier, which is, I think it's so necessary, one, to create the awareness that at different phases in our lives, it's different identities, right? It's not about goals and results. It's truly who we believe ourselves to be, and we'll never outperform that opinion. So, but the beautiful part is that opinion is it can evolve, right? It can grow. And if you look at life, and I mean literally anything with life in it, right? And I don't mean that, you know, spiritually, metaphorically. I mean literally, if it's got life in it, a tree, an ant, a human, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
Well, if it has life, it will do two things, guaranteed, without fail. Right? It is hardwired to do two things: grow and add value to other life around it. Mm-hmm. In one way or another, whether it's a food chain.
Another. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Whether it's, you know, these bugs are, you know, they hatch at this time, which sends a fucking ripple over into the continent. Like, if you really get into that shit, it's wild how connected everything is. Yeah. Right? It's absolutely insane. But it's true. If it has life in it, life force, call it, it will do two things naturally. It will grow. I mean, look at your son today versus when he was born. Mm-hmm. Whether you want it to or not, he's growing. Yeah. Right? Because that's what life does.
Which, as a parent, is a trip, man.
Oh, like, I can't imagine.
We have that thought, and Carly's been saying lately, she's like, yeah, my baby's not a baby anymore. I'm like, I mean, he is. He's literally a baby. Right. But like, you know, but I get it.
You're like, wait, we have a baby?
Yeah, we're about to move him into another room. And we're like, wait, like, this is weird. This is weird, mm-hmm. You know? But anyway, go ahead, keep going.
But I think the important thing is when we try to stifle that growth, i.e. the identities, right? The way things are, the depression that we experience, the feeling of being repressed, it comes out often as destructive, right? Whether that's destructive behaviors with alcohol, drugs, food, sex, all the above, or, you know, our behaviors towards one another are very aggressive and destructive, right? A lot of that, no one in life I've ever met, and I mean this myself included, I've never met someone who was genuinely inspired by the work they're doing, who is genuinely connected and is in gratitude for the love and the relationships they have, and is also hell-bent on fucking hurting other people in some way, shape, or form. I've never seen those two things exist in the same space.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Good.
No, I was just gonna say. Well, no, I want you to finish your thought first, because I have some feels about certain things on that. But I agree with you 100%. Nobody. You're wow. Yeah. I mean, nobody's hell bent on it. I think some people have a hard time with the person that they see themselves and what the impact they might be making or the footprint they might be not acknowledging at the same time. Because I think there's a lot of people that like they have great intentions and they mean to do well and they mean to do all those things, but I've seen the opposite too, where like they'll do all that and no, they're not hell bent on it, but they leave a fucking footprint behind.
Yeah, leave a wake.
A lot of people.
I heard a quote that really sticks out for me that's come up a few times in conversations recently is, and I remember reading this years ago when I was in the midst of my like really dark phase. And all it said was, until a man heals himself, he'll be toxic to anyone who tries to love him. And it hit because that's exactly what I was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was operating from this place of shame, this belief that I wasn't good enough, smart enough, whatever, all the things enough to be the man that I knew I was deep down. Right. But my life was not a reflection of what I knew I could be. Right. And that's what led to the behaviors and the destruction and then the, nearly making the ultimate decision. For me personally. But what was I saying? Because I just had 2 points and they just just like eliminated each other.
Well, I mean, if it helps at all, we were just talking about I was talking about footprint because you were talking about the two things that don't lead, people aren't hell bent on, all these different things. I mean, you listed a few things, but if they are connected in their inspiration and no, I thought this thing. Sorry, this is all going to be cut.
No, it'll come back to me.
I thought this thing. There we go.
I trust it'll come back to me.
Something popped.
But this is also how real thoughts work. So.
Yeah. No, something popped up on the screen. I thought
was it something important that she needs, and you're just like, no, we'll do that later.
But that's life, man. I mean, so that something popped up on the screen. I thought it was like ending for some reason. Jesus, I don't know what that was. But anyway,
no, we're good.
That disrupted my.
But like I think, just to kind of backtrack a little bit and maybe find the footing, where we were, I think the biggest thing is getting clear on, who we want to become, right? Like genuinely, who do we want to become? Or if you've already, if circumstance has, kind of thrusted you into a new identity, right? Such as you became a father, you became a mother, a job loss, an illness, whatever it is. I believe that I know the point I wanted to make, but I'm going to close this loop first. So I believe the important thing is that we first must accept the life that we have lived. This is what was necessary for me. I had to take responsibility for the life that I'd already lived, both the circumstances that were brought to me, when I was a child, etc., and the choices that I had made that I did not, specifically the ones that I carried a lot of shame around. I had to accept them. Doesn't mean I had to agree with it, but I had to accept them. So when I took responsibility for my past, i.e. doing the healing, facing it, owning it, all the things, which took years, still happening, by the way. When I take it wasn't until I took responsibility for the past that I could then take responsibility for who I wanted to become. Yeah. The uncertainty of the future. Sense. Right. And I think too many of us are trying to take responsibility for the future without accepting and taking responsibility for our past, which is why it's unsustainable. Right. We're trying to overcompensate or override these programs, these thought processes, these, the shame that all of us carry at some level by appearing better. Right. Versus let's just look at that shit, get honest about it for a minute, uncomfortably honest. Yeah. And then find safe support. Like you were saying, you can't do this alone. Finding a safe space to be able to share, feel seen, feel understood without judgment and criticism so that you can begin to unpack and explore and become okay with that yourself. Doesn't mean you agree, right? But you're okay with it. You accept it so that you then can direct that energy and have the ability to step into an identity that's very, very different. Right. And the point that I was going to make earlier that I wanted to connect, I think so many people are spending their, when they hit that moment where they realize they're doing things or they become a version of themselves that they don't respect. Right. One of two things will happen in those moments. You'll either double down on justifying it. Right. Or you'll accept and take responsibility for making a change. right? So that you can stop, leaving that footprint, leaving that way, being destructive in those ways in which you don't even respect.
Yeah.
Right? It's not about the ways you think that your mom wants you to change, or your wife, or your husband, or whomever.
Right.
But we all have those things that we don't even respect about the behaviors that we're participating in.
Right.
Those are the ones that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's not about doing it for someone else. It's about becoming the person whom you are proud of, whom you respect.
Right.
And I've never met someone that has become someone they're genuinely proud of that isn't making a positive impact on the lives around them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, how to reflect that on the self, because it's easy for me to see moments of my own life where I'm not proud of things, or did I build up a idea of who I am, and that is what I'm more attracted to versus, the person I know I should become in certain things. You know what I mean? Like there's certain things, like certain characteristics throughout my life. I'm not saying specifically right now, just like where I know I know I'm not proud of who I am in this moment, but I'm like holding on to that, like in a weird way, but like, no, that's exactly who I am. It's like, this is it. Like, and it's like almost like hurting yourself. Like, I feel like I'm hurting myself to remain the same person, but I'm not, I don't know. I'm trying to, what's fun about these
you're
kind of
outgrowing the
conversations-
cage.
Yes, exactly.
That discomfort
Exactly,
you're
yeah.
feeling is literally I would consider it like the soul has outgrown the cage. It's like,
Yeah,
if you put an animal in a cage and it's too small, that animal is going to be in pain. It's going to be in suffering, right?
Oh yeah.
That's how most of us are living our lives. We are designed to grow. We're going to grow naturally, whether we like it or not. Things around us are going to grow and change. But if we are committed to this cage, this limited perspective, it's going to create a lot of discomfort, right? And that's putting it lightly. And that's where I think a lot of the feelings of depression and the suicidal ideations and these like desires for a different life, comparison, judgments, all that stuff start to run rampant is when we are in this state of the natural thing that's inside of us, call it a soul, call it a spirit, whatever, one's relationship to that is, whatever that life force may be, it's growing whether we like it or not. It's yearning for expansion whether we like it or not. But if this thing up here, this mental construct that we subscribe to is keeping it bottled up in this little like 3x3 box, you're going to experience a lot of discomfort in your life. Right? Period. And something for me, like when I was in that place, again, my anger is how it came out often in the beginning of my relationship with Allison. It was very, very, like I was very aggressive at times verbally, and I never became physical, but it was I was all but, right. And I say that openly because, I think it's important to be transparent. But I remember like Allison was the one that taught me this. When it came to my anger, she'd always say like, you're whatever it was that I was upset by at the time. She's like, your anger is justified. Like it makes complete sense why you're angry. I get it. If I were you, I would probably be angry as well, even if it was her that had upset me in some way.
Yeah.
But what she said next is and I heard this a lot. It just completely changed my life, which is, she's like, your anger isn't the problem. She's like, but it's how you treat me when you're angry. That's not okay.
Boom.
And it was the first time in my life someone had ever separated the two things.
Yes.
I was always told it was my anger was my problem.
That's good, man. Yeah.
But I felt justified in my anger. Yeah. So you're going to tell me what I feel justified is wrong? Fuck that. I'm going to double down.
She's not even in this conversation, but that's real good because I can see that with myself big time with Carly too. Like just in my own moments of discomfort and anger coming through and leading with anger and not being able to separate it. That's I like that. That's really good.
And what I learned, so at that time, I learned, and this is very, reflective of what I witnessed in my own father, which was I had to be, for balance to me, to keep a relationship in my life, whatever that looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Balance was I had to be as kind as I was angry, right? It was like the scale. They were two separate things, and they had to wait. They had to like balance in some way. I had to be as kind as I was angry.
Right.
What Allison kept challenging me to do, she's like, what would it look like if you were angry and kind at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
What does that balance look like?
Yeah.
And it was the first time I was like, oh, wait a fucking minute. Like, you can do that? Like, that's possible? Because I'd never in my life witnessed that anywhere. Right. And by the way, on this note, I also want to highlight your work and the importance of it, because I didn't have an example in my life that I recognized. It may have existed in my life, but I just didn't see it. Right. Or wasn't attuned to it. But the first example that I was attached to of anger and self-control at the same time was the show Suits.
Ah, interesting. Haven't seen it. Right? Another one of those things.
That's fine. I'm obsessed with it, right? It's like Bad Boys to me. I'll tell you, it's the greatest show that's ever existed. Why? Not because, it may be or not be the greatest show, but because of the impact it's had on me. And the impact that it has on me is the characters in the show. It was the first time I'd ever seen someone, be really triggered, be really pissed, really offended, and keep their composure.
Yeah.
Right. And what I learned was you can feel that rage. You can feel that disrespect. You can feel whatever it is that you're feeling, and it might be justified. You might even be spot on, right? It might be appropriate.
Yeah.
But don't make it worse.
1000%. That's the stoicism virtue of temperance. Yeah. It's like just being able to control your emotions when they happen. It doesn't mean they can't have them. I think a lot of people confuse stoicism in that sense. Like they just think like, oh, so if you're stoic, you don't have emotions. It's like, no, it's just how you identify and control them and how you deal with them.
This came up last night. One of my favorite things when working with men specifically around emotions is how often a man will say to me, oh, I'm not emotional. I'm not the emotional type. I'm like, fair. Understood.
You're the most emotional human, I think. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, fair. Understood. I was like, I'll literally ask him. I'm like, but let me ask you this. I was like, how often are you angry? Oh, all the fucking time. Everything pisses me off. I'm like, oh, you want to, it's like, so can we revisit that not emotional part? Because despite what you're saying, anger is an emotion. So you're very emotional, as a matter of fact.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah. Carly likes to call me for my shit too, because like I don't say that, but she knows like I'm my things in life are anger. Like anger happens easily for me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's always a battle of when.
I respect you for admitting that, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. All life experiences leading to that point, right? And anger wins some days, I win some days, and it's part of it. That's why I brought up temperance anyway, because stoicism really helped me kind of have some ideas around that and help shape some things. But, she calls me out for my shit sometimes and just be like, you're, because like I'll be like, oh, why are they like when things in judgment start happening on other people, like, oh, why are they so emotional about it, And she's like, you're one of the most emotional people I know. Like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, you're right. Shit.
Like, don't tell me who I am.
Yeah, but it's always me. It's always me in a way of being like, hey, that's a part of myself I recognize, but I don't necessarily want, but it is real. And it's like, I'm okay with it, but I'm not. And I'm just putting that on other people and just be like, okay, why is that making me uncomfortable?
Right. And again, I think funny. It's another way that's helped me, and perhaps we can bookmark this, the thing that's really helped me in developing a new relationship to my emotions and to anger specifically. Because I believe that's what it is. When people talk about healing and wanting to be fixed and all this stuff, that's not how this shit works. Right? Healing really is nothing more than developing a healthier relationship to whatever the thing is. Mm-hmm. Right? Period. Yeah. Right? I don't care if it's your anger. I don't care if it's your diet. I don't care if it's your, relationship. It's developing a healthier relationship to that thing that feels like healing. So my relationship to anger became this. It was when I learned the difference between being in it versus being with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's kind of like, I imagine, when your son is throwing a tantrum for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's a difference between entering that tantrum with him, you getting hijacked and, losing your shit, whatever that looks like,
Yep.
versus being with him while he's throwing the tantrum.
Right.
Right. It's a very different thing. And it's the same with our own, like they call it, like the internal locus of control, right? Like where it's, if you're starting to feel angry, it's that difference between I am angry to I'm feeling angry, right? I'm getting angry.
Yeah.
Right. I'm experiencing anger. And I know to many, they're like, that language is fucking silly and stupid and foo-foo and whatever, but it matters.
Yeah, it does matter. No, 100%.
Right. It matters. And another way that I like to look at this, just to give a visual, is, have you ever surfed?
Yeah, I surf. Oh,
okay.
Carly would laugh her ass off if I said that. Like, yeah, I surf. I haven't been out in a year, so yeah.
Okay, but you've been in the water with a board once or twice.
Yeah, well, yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
I don't surf, but I've been out there. I've gotten my ass whooped, right?
Yeah.
But this is the way that I like. So when you're swimming out past the break,
yeah,
right, there's a difference between being in the wave, like it's busting your ass,
yeah,
versus being with the wave.
Of course, yeah.
Right? The goal is to be with it. Is that not the point of surfing?
Yeah.
Right? When you can get up on that board and you can leverage the power and the momentum of that current, that massive water, it becomes fun.
Yep.
But when you're in the wave, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's even life-threatening, to be quite honest, right?
Yeah, been there.
But yeah, all have if you're ever going to do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's this it's a perfect metaphor for our emotions, right? When we're in our anger, we're just fucking, it's like being, you don't know which way's up, right? You're just getting tossed around. But when you're with your anger, you actually learn how to maneuver this thing and leverage its energy to create a more powerful, positive outcome for all, not just self.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very different approach to the exact same experience.
Mm-hmm.
Just like surfing.
Yeah. No, 100%. There's so many metaphors for surfing. It's unbelievable.
The good stuff is that's the good stuff, right? If you can simplify it to that, it must be real.
I'm the king of tangents, but I'll just do this right now. It's like you talk about surfing, and it just makes me think of the happiest I've been in the last 4 years, other than, so not the happiest I've been. The happiest I was during the pandemic time.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking frightening, obviously, and it was like, before we knew what was going on, whatever, worried about losing work, losing about all that stuff. But surfing is what both me, Andrew Garrity, what we attached to. He's one of my best friends. I
love it.
Say his name a lot. But we went out surfing like 3 days a week. Oh, it was the best, man. I've never, like, you think about the world and how awful everything was, and losing work and like not being able to make ends meet and like all that kind of stuff. But like, dude, we were just so happy just being. Like we were just being, we were existing, we were just going out and having fun. And even those things, like, we were getting wrecked, and we had some pretty big days of paddling out on things we shouldn't have paddled out in. And it's just like, we just looked at each other like, why don't we do this more? Like, this would make everything else, when we do have work and we do have these things and we get hit with all this stuff, like it would balance life out a little bit better. But, for some reason we're so close to the ocean, but we still don't do it. So it's kind of, anyway.
Again, another metaphor. We're so close to the solution, but we don't even do it.
We don't want to do it. It's so easy. It's so accessible.
Yeah.
It's so accessible.
But it requires that change of thought, that taking responsibility.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly why I haven't been out for a year, though. I mean, there's real reasons, like Carly's pregnancy, having a kid, all these things are kind of like led to, me making reasons why I couldn't go. But, some legitimate, some maybe not. But yeah, it is that we are closer to solutions than we really think we are. And I think that should be comforting. And it comes around to sort of my mantra right now. And Carly, I brought it up to her the other day. She's like, that's kind of a negative connotation. Not of how I use it, but where we are currently with having a kid coming back out of a strike, all that stuff. I'm just kind of like fuck around and find out. Like that's my. I know it's usually like fuck around and find out. Like we're gonna someone's gonna be. Yeah, usually that's used in a term of like someone's like fuck around, find out, like you're getting into a fight, but like. No, like literally.
That's only because you're from the East Coast.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah, fuck around and find out. But no, it's awesome right now. Like having that mentality, just being like, I'm just gonna fuck around and find out where I am and what comes, what opportunities arise. Who I am as a person, as a father, as a husband, as a, I just want to be open to all opportunities and. I'm very excited about this year with that in mind, just being like, I'm not this thing I been the last few years. Like I'm done with that. Like that's part of life. And I was like, that's part of me becoming a dad, I think was helpful. It's like, even though it sucked for a few months of just like battling, like, why am I feeling these things? Why I just became a father. I should be super happy. I should be, all these things. I should be. It was killing me. And I'm so excited to just let it all go and turn into this new evolution, like evolve into this new person, this new thing. And just staying open. It's really beautiful.
Sounds like you're going to fuck around and find out.
I'm going to fuck around and find out.
That's amazing. Well, brother, I don't know if there's a better place to put a bookmark than that.
Yeah. Is there anything we missed? Anything you want to talk about?
We can always do it 100 more times.
Yeah, that's true. I know you talked about integrity and work and those kinds of things. And I don't even know if we even touched on that or not. I don't know if that's important to you or not. But
we can always go back to it later. And this is, literally the. Hold on, I want to bookmark that part. So the reason why I decided to do the podcast platform versus anything else. And it kind of goes back to your social media thing. And this will be the last thing I got to do because I got to wrap up and go to another call.
Right.
But it's authentic conversations with people that inspire me. Mm-hmm. Like all of the moments that we had in this conversation, you can never script. Right. And when it came to like, obviously, social media is as big of a monster as it is, it's that because of the power it has, right? The ability to connect with so many and all of these amazing, beautiful things. But for me, like you were saying earlier, like the moment I open it, like I posted a few things recently because I'm kind of like just testing a few things and just kind of reintroducing myself to it. But the reality is from here on out, like I've hired a team. Like I'm not fucking touching it. Like I have no interest whatsoever in being on social media. Not because I am just like anti-social media and I'm like, fuck that. Like the relation, what it does for me energetically, I do not like.
Same.
Right. I do. It sucks life out of me instead of giving life to me. But what I'm a firm believer in, and this is really the whole premise of the offer of my new program that I've just launched, the beta version at least, the main premise was that, I believe in, that your business gets to live online, not you. Mm-hmm. Right. So the marketing strategies that I've, identified that are, the most effective for me and people that have similar relationships to social media. It's all about that. Your business gets to live online, but not you. Like this 1.5 hour conversation that we've had, it's recorded. The 15, 22, 38 things that can come out of it, edit it, snip, bullet point, whatever, that gets to be social media's stuff. Yeah. Right. I'm not touching it. I have an editor doing it. I have a team that's posting. That's just my plan. Yeah. Right. What I get to do is spend my time in conversations with people like you. And we get to riff and go down fucking rabbit holes and, do all these things. And, we'll pluck the gold out of the conversation. And then the whole thing gets to live on a platform if someone ever wants to just listen to a conversation. Yeah. I don't need the podcast to be successful. I don't fucking care.
That's the best, man.
It gives me the ability to do this.
That is the best place that you or anybody can be in, is not caring about the result. And, obviously to some degree you have to, for certain things, but like,
you got to know where you're headed.
I don't want to be so loose with it, but to be in a place of just enjoying the process and being exactly where you are, and sitting here, we could sit and do this for 3 hours. We could do this for 5 hours. Like, we can keep going and going.
Especially with your espresso.
Yeah, especially. Well, I would have to go and get more, and that whole thing. But like, I'm thinking about that a lot myself lately too. Is like, what is something that I can just continuously do, and getting paid or not, and and then still it is stuff that I do. It's like photography. If the career stuff got pulled away from me tomorrow, I'd still do it. I'd still take pictures. I'd still enjoy everything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a huge place to be in, and I want to. I know you have to go, so I just want to acknowledge that, like, you're doing exactly what I think you should be doing, and it's like you sound so empowered by it. You're helping others. You're identifying yourself in all of it. I think you're learning as you're going too, just like I did in this conversation. I sat here and then I'm making these weird faces and I'm going like this because I'm like, I'm thinking, but I can't. It's stuff I'll process later, right? But I'm just acknowledging that, and I respect you a lot for doing that. And also the social media thing, just being able to be like, that's not for me. I'm getting a team to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can get dragged down by that shit. If you don't want to do it, if it doesn't empower you, then find another way.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we have to completely, shit on the platforms or the strategy. And this goes for anything. We're just talking about social media at the moment. Like, you hear people say, find your zone of genius and all that stuff. And when you really start to lean in, you start to understand what that means a little more. It's like when we always say like things are cheesy, usually the cheesy things are actually wisdom, but it's only cheesy until you experience something that connects you to what that actually means.
Yeah, it's a great bridge. Absolutely. I think when we say cheesy, we're just afraid of how people are going to look at us. Like when I said about time, like, oh yeah, it's cheesy. It's like, yeah, it's cheesy. But really, what I'm saying is cheesy is just like, I'm just like, well, don't judge me for liking something cheesy. Like, I just, makes it feel good.
Yeah,
that's all that matters. So,
as you know, I recently, some of the best advice my mother gave right before she passed this past year. We were talking about the fear of judgment and how she lived her life smaller than she wanted because she feared the opinion of others, and it was a very real conversation. And when she found out she had cancer 4 years prior to her actually passing, she started to live. Like, her diagnosis, actually, she began to live, and which translated to her living much longer than every doctor predicted, by the way. That's a whole nother conversation.
Buddy, we can go on and on and on about that because, like, if I continue, but yeah.
So literally within the final, it happened. In hindsight, it became the final days of her life. Her and I were talking, and we were talking about this thing specifically. And I was asking, I was like, looking back on it now from where you are, it's like, what do you want me to hear? What do you want me to know? Mm-hmm. And she literally said, "Fuck them." Like, that was her advice.
That's my kind of person, man. That's
like awesome. She was like, when it was about the opinion of him, I was like, what's the one thing that, if I could carry a baton forward, like, what is, how do you wish for me and anyone, but it happened to be me in the conversation. I was like, how do you wish me to live my life moving forward? She's like, she'd always call me Maddie. She's like, Maddie, fuck him. Yeah. And I was like, Mom said so.
Hey, it's Mama's words. Mama's words.
Right? Like, those are law. So
I love that. Good job, Mama.
So fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, that's good. I like that. That's really good.
Mm-hmm. And when you kind of connect to the deeper meaning, right? It's not about the disrespect and that's not saying don't care about other people. It's,
no. We know what it means. But that's
I know you know what it means. But
but
for those that are going to take that and run with it, fuck them.
I know. I'll tell
literally.
Yeah, I mean that's got you're Ohio, right? Or where are you from?
Mm-mm.
No, where are you from again?
Indiana.
I knew.
I mean, are they different? I don't know.
They're the same. They're just spelled differently.
Right.
But no, Indiana. But I mean, Midwest has its own thing, but also East Coast. It's just like you use that kind of language. It doesn't mean actually like anything negative. It just I don't know. It's a release. That's all it is.
And if that's how someone interprets it, it's what we call their problem.
Oh man, I get in trouble with that stuff a lot. But cool, man.
Oh,
I know you got to get going, but yeah, we should definitely do more of this. I mean, this is fun, and it was definitely more of a conversation, which was great. Um, I think sometimes these podcasts can be performative, where like people will come to the table with a lot of stuff to say, and and then it becomes like, what little snippets, what little clips can I say to make me seem valued and important? But this felt so much more relaxed and flowy and stuff like that. So I see what you're doing, and it's really cool.
well, I appreciate you.